We call it quiet quitting, that lingering, hollow exhaustion you feel, even when achieving every metric of modern success. If you feel this way, it is not a personal failure. That numbness is a predictable psychological symptom of how we have engineered the modern workplace. Long before the endless emails, Karl Marx diagnosed this exact condition. He called it the theory of alienation. He argued that in industrialized systems, workers hit a paradox. They only feel like their true selves when they are finally off the clock. Our economy demands that we spend our days performing alien tasks. We push numbers around spreadsheets and manage abstract workflows that have zero connection to our core human identity or to our actual physical survival. If following the rules and doing exactly what society asks leaves you feeling entirely lost, the system itself is flawed. The modern definition of a job is broken. To understand why it's broken, we have to look at what work used to be. For 200,000 years, humans roamed as hunter-gatherers. Labor was driven entirely by the immediate need for food and shelter. There were no careers, only survival. Then came the agricultural age. A food surplus allowed the first specialists to exist. Society branched out into artisans, scholars, and priests. Notice how these branches remain connected. By relying on interdependent goods, labor retained its meaning as a noble commitment to the community. Within this traditional framework, cultures developed their own highly specific rhythms. They maintained a balanced local ecosystem of dedicated farmers and skilled craftsmen supporting one another. Work made sense. Ancient civilizations found deep psychological meaning in their daily labor because they could see the tangible impact of their efforts keeping their community alive. Western colonization arrived and dismantled these local labor models, seeking to reshape them entirely into bureaucratic engines for the expanding empire. Traditional ways of life were actively suppressed. The empire built institutions designed specifically to break old habits and force indigenous youth into strict compliance. Ancestral work operated on a custodial mindset. You cared for the land and your neighbors. The new Western model was extractive. It replaced communal duty with an obsession over bureaucratic rank and social status. You can see the forced fusion here. Skilled farmers and potters were re-engineered. Local youth were put into colonial dress and trained as administrative clerks. But there was a massive oversight in this social engineering. These colonial schools manufactured an entire class of white-collar bureaucrats, dropping them back into local economies that had zero infrastructure to actually absorb them. This forced transition officially severed the link between the worker and the work. The psychological connection to the physical fruits of your labor was gone. We can see the delayed fallout of this re-education decades later. Take Sri Lanka in the 1970s. The nation faced a massive crisis driven by an entire generation of young people who were highly educated for a corporate job market that simply did not exist. And they suffered the devastating inverse of that problem. Because they were trained for the desk, they were completely unskilled in the trades of their ancestors. They couldn't return to the land even if they wanted to. Forcing an ancient culture into an alien economic model doesn't create prosperity. It creates a stranded underclass, trapped permanently between a lost past and an unreachable future. This historical cycle repeats today through digital algorithms and media that prioritize foreign lifestyle trends over local traditions. This constant digital exposure applies immense peer and family pressure. It convinces young people to abandon their local roots, to chase foreign, highly transactional corporate lifestyles. Performing these alien tasks within a culture that doesn't mirror your own creates a profound psychological strain. We often exhaust ourselves chasing an imported definition of success, leaving our own identity behind. According to the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, humans are ultimately driven by what he called a will to meaning. If a job gives you a paycheck but robs you of meaning, you are suffering. Money cannot cure a lack of purpose. The cure requires a renewed perspective. We have to adopt what anthropologists call indigenous thinking, approaching our modern careers not as an extractive grind for status, but as a custodial duty to our community. This doesn't mean you need to quit your job to become a traditional potter or farmer. It means assimilating the empirical wisdom of those who came before you and using their principles to evaluate the path you are walking today. There is an instruction preserved in the Bhagavad Gita. It is far better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live in imitation of somebody else's life with absolute perfection. When the modern economy leaves you feeling entirely drained, you don't need to look outward for a new trend. Looking back to your roots is the only reliable compass forward.